Welcome to the Kingdom Business Breakthrough Podcast. We help entrepreneurs gain influence and favor by applying God's kingdom principles in their business and personal life. Welcome your host, Jessica Tye.
Hey guys, this is Jessica Tye back with another episode of Kingdom Business Breakthrough Podcast. So today I've got a little bit of a special episode for you. I was recently interviewed on a very popular lifestyle podcast called Keto Lifestyle, and my wife, Jessica Tye, is actually the podcast host. That show's been going on for about 2 years. She's had almost 400,000 downloads, I guess, now on that show, so she's really had a lot of success with it. And she interviewed me on the book launch and kind of our attempt to be healthy with our lifestyle, with eating and nutrition and how we move and exercise, that kind of thing. So I hope this episode is a treat for you. I just grabbed the meat out of the middle out of that episode so you guys could listen to it today. If you haven't done so already, please go to our website, kingdombusinessbreakthrough.com, to learn about our coaching program and our book and the workbook, which was just released. There's also a coaching offer on there as well. So without further ado, I'll introduce you here now to the episode of Keto Lifestyle Podcast, which I was featured on.
All right, Jessica Tye, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm real good. So this is exciting. It's kind of weird because the last time you were on the show, you were on this side of the mic with me.
Yes.
We were conversing together, and now you're like on the other side of the screen.
We each have our own like Zoom account now. It's like we're each podcasters. It's a whole new world now.
We've arrived.
Yes.
So I want to catch up with you and let my listeners catch up with you, which they may be like, what does this have to do with keto? Well, first of all, you are keto. But so I want to talk about that and talk about just what all the stuff is you've got going on right now. And then I promise we're going to circle this around to why this matters for keto.
Sounds good.
So let us know. What do you have going on?
Oh man. So you started your podcast 2.5 years ago, I think. And that's about when we both started keto together. And at that time, you know, I had always wanted to write a book. I had actually been writing notes for a book, and, you know, I've been in real estate for 15 years, been able to have that be our main kind of bread and butter income over the years. Then we were able to get into the rental properties, which was kind of fun. And I think along the last couple of years, you brought your listeners along with our journey on getting into real estate investments and kind of how that worked out for our family and the farm and the Airbnb properties. So along that journey, we also were able to kind of get into some diversification of our time, which is always good. So because I feel like I've had some positive experiences with the real estate business and some other entrepreneurial endeavors, I wanted to write this book on entrepreneurship and then how do you integrate your faith and entrepreneurship together. So the book that just came out this week this last week on Amazon and paperback is called The Lord's Prayer for Entrepreneurs. So that's what I've been up to the last couple of years.
So that's pretty exciting. And for the listeners, you can actually just go to my website, click on my Amazon store, and you can get the book. It's right there, easy to find. So it is a really cool book. It's not a super big or long book. So it's an easy read, I would say. And I think it's going to enrich your life tremendously. But so you have a ton of stuff going on. You're running a business, you own, you're an owner in a real estate office, you've got your own team, you have a family, obviously we're doing all this stuff. And I mean, our family is crazy busy. And
I date my wife regularly.
Yes. And in all of this, you still manage to find time to write a book. So I know I'm kind of leading you here, but how in the world what do you attribute that to?
Well, honestly, first of all, I feel like God's given me like supernatural time because on paper it doesn't seem to make sense. If you add in 5 kids and rental properties and real estate businesses and all that, there isn't enough time to dedicate to writing a book. So I know that there's been some kind of supernatural time bending, so to speak, that's happened. So I think also the hours that I do work, I make them very productive. And you know me really well. I only work 40 to 45 hours a week on average. Like I really try to do my best to, leave around 7 in the morning, 8, depending on the day. And I'm home by dinner, 6 o'clock almost every single night of the week. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, I dedicate more of that time to family obligations and sports and our church activities, that kind of thing. So I do feel like it's got to be a supernatural time bending experience, but also I do feel like there is a health and wellness aspect to it. I have not been sick in 2 years, like to take me down and out for more than a couple hours. And the time that I am awake and alert and doing business, I feel like I'm been very alert. Maybe it's the keto diet, maybe it's just good genes. I don't know what it is, but I feel like I'm productive when I'm actually doing the work time. It's not just wasted time.
Well, I think it's probably a little bit of both. It's probably a little bit of the keto diet as well as a little bit of you having some of your other lifestyle things on point. Like I'm always trying to get across to people to make sure that they're doing the journaling and do some time in meditation or prayer and really try to get their sleep down and, kind of do all those things, like get movement and working out, like get some working out in and all that. And I think you do a pretty good job of balancing all that stuff.
Well, I mean, one thing that I talk about in my book is I actually give people my daily rituals or routines. And so I start my mornings off when I get to the office. The first thing I do is I pray a prayer out loud that I've written that kind of covers my home life, family life, relationships, businesses, kind of like covers everything in prayer so I don't forget anything. And I say it out loud. I also have out loud affirmations that I say. And, those are actually in the book. I actually, some of them are a little embarrassing or whatever, but, whatever. I figure, if I'm doing something that's working, then I want to give the world whatever it is, and then they can pick and choose. So I actually say out loud my affirmations. Then I do a journaling exercise every morning. So I actually write down kind of the last 24 hours, what happened, any kind of major events, how I'm feeling about that. Then I do 3 parts. I do journal on gratitude. So what am I grateful for? What did I learn? If there was any kind of lessons learned from the last 24 hours. And then what did I do well? Because I don't think we spend enough time actually congratulating ourselves on anything we do well. We kind of, for me, I find the 99 things I did wrong, and I never really think about the one thing I did right. So I feel like that's kind of one of those things in my life I need to do a better job of, is kind of pat myself on the back. And actually on the journaling, I do more, I spend more time on the events that happen and less time on the congratulating myself on stuff. It's just my nature. I just find more fault in what I do than good stuff, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that's all of us, really. We probably all find more fault than we do positive things. So so I think that's a really good habits that you have going on there for sure. And so talk to me a little bit about your movement and your working out. Like, what does that look like? What do you do?
So I think because of the keto lifestyle that I'm in, I don't work out as much as I used to. I used to be in the gym 3 to 4 times a week pretty regularly before I started keto. And I had to do a lot of intense workouts to kind of keep up with that. In addition, I've been playing sand volleyball every Monday night for 20 something years. So I've been staying competitive in that. I'm not a excellent, volleyball player by any means. I just like to do it and it's fun. And now my son's playing with me and these friends I've been playing with for years. So it's a men's league. It's a lot of fun. But the point is so I, at least once a week, I've scheduled in, I'm going to play volleyball, which is a pretty high intense interval kind of deal. And then at least one other day of the week, I'm outside, either doing some yard work, chopping wood, moving dirt, moving rocks, cutting down trees. I try to do something like that once a week. And then I try to go 1 to 3 days a week where I find some like a 20 to 30 minute time to go to the gym. Usually lately, the last year has probably only been averaging probably 1 to 2 times a week of going to the gym. It might even be less than 1 time a week at this point. So it's not a huge focus of my life to be in the gym, even though I can appreciate other people that do that. But during all that time, with all the stress, all the activities, all that stuff, I haven't gained any weight. So I'm actually pretty much back to about where I was in college right now with my weight. And I've fluctuated only a few pounds in the last 2.5 years.
And I would say, being your wife who gets to see you every day and gets to see you maybe with less clothes on than everybody else does.
Where are we going with this?
I would say that that not only have you probably lost fat weight, but I think you've put on weight and muscle. Like you've always been a smaller framed guy, but I feel like your chest and arms and shoulders have gotten a little bit bigger, which is kind of surprising when you just think about like all the, kind of traditional and standard advice that you hear out there, because you are in the gym less. You used to eat like, 16 chicken breasts a day and really focus on all that kind of thing, getting all this protein in and really working out super hard all the time. And I felt like your efforts were just, you were so frustrated with the efforts. And I feel like since you have been keto now coming up on 2.5 years of being keto, you have, it's like easier for you to put on muscle, or at least it's muscle sparing. At least you're not losing muscle. Where
I agree with that.
before, if you didn't stick to like, oh my gosh, I have to eat like however many grams of protein a day you had to eat in addition to working out consistently, or you would start to lose whatever you had gained. I feel like that's not happening at all anymore.
Yeah, and I feel like my waist size has gone down and my chest and shoulders are just slightly bigger. I mean, they're not huge. I mean, you've got that 3D fit scanner, and I think you remember when I went that hardcore 90-day challenge where I basically just did a very strict watching my macros, and I normally don't. I'm very intuitive how I eat, but I did very strict keto for like 90 days, and I actually saw fat loss go down by like 10 pounds. And my muscle mass went up. And you probably remember that. So that was at the beginning of the year, right before we went on the low carb cruise. And so I saw it with my own eyes, like the impact of and I didn't really work out much more. I mean, maybe a little bit more, but it wasn't like I was like hitting the treadmill and doing all this kind of stuff.
Right. I've definitely noticed that for you, and think it's really awesome. It was really interesting. This kind of on another note, but I was recording one of my classes this morning, and for that class, I have to test my ketones. And I know last night we went to a friend's barbecue, and I had wine. I had like 3 glasses of wine last night, which is a lot for me. I don't normally have 3.
I can attest to that. Yes.
So I had 3 glasses of wine, and it was funny because I thought, oh, I'm recording this class today where I'm testing ketones live in front of this class. And I thought this is going to go one of 2 ways. Either I'm going to have no ketones and I'm going to have to confess that I had wine last night and I guess it knocked me out of ketosis. Or 2, I'm going to test that I'm actually in ketosis, and then I'm going to be able to use this as a learning lesson. And I was in nutritional ketosis. I tested it at 0.7, which I had said earlier in the class that I typically am between a 0.5 and a 1 millimole.
So you're right down the middle, yeah.
Just kind of where I usually fluctuate. And I don't give a lot of credence to the thought or the people that say, oh, the higher the better. Like, I don't believe that, because I pretty much stay in the same. I think my body has gotten really, really good at making exactly the amount of ketones that I need, because I live a very much like you do for the most part. I'm in pretty much the same routine all the time. Like, it's pretty consistent. We pretty much do the same type of thing, pretty much work out kind of the same, pretty much go to bed kind of the same, pretty much eat kind of the same. So your body starts to really hone in on that, and it knows, oh, she needs this many ketones a day. So that's what it's very good at conserving. I mean, your body's not going to make extra things you don't need as much as possible. So anyway, it was really interesting. And so I did confess that I had wine in the glass, but I thought it was a good testament to the fact that, and I know you do this as well, that when you are fat adapted and you are keto adapted and your body has got that metabolic flexibility that really we're all looking for, that's really, whether you want to be keto or not, everybody should want to be metabolically flexible. I mean, that's what we should want. So we can go, between feast and famine and carbs and fat, and we should be able to bounce back and forth and still feel good and be able to get a steady energy source at all times. And this really showed me that my body's really good at doing that. Like, I had 3 glasses of wine last night and until pretty late too. And then got up this morning, I had water, coffee, and then I was cleaning out the refrigerator and had 2 of those deviled eggs that I had taken to the party that came home with us last night. I thought, I'm kind of hungry for lunch. I think I'll have a couple of those. And then, here 11:30 in the morning or noon, it was about noon, I guess, I tested and I'm back in nutritional ketosis. So I think that's a testament to what our bodies can do when we put in the time. And it's the kind of the same, I guess, to wrap all this up, it's the same thing I feel like with your working out stuff and how your body is feeling and doing now is that you are, your body's not, you're not losing the muscle and the effort, the gains that you've put into this. Your body is now able to be like, you know what? Yeah, we're not going to the gym every day, but that's okay. We don't have to use this muscle. We'll just hold on to it. And, I'm getting plenty of fuel. There's nothing we need to do with this. Versus when we're nutrient depleted and we're not getting what we need, we can start wasting muscle. I think keto is so muscle sparing, especially when you're eating clean keto and you're eating good nutritional food and you're able to digest that food.
I agree. I mean, it's quality over quantity, and it's, even not even just the macros, like we like the organic foods as much as possible and the grass-fed beef and all this kind of stuff. So I think even that, you're not fighting all these other outside antibody things that are happening. You're just like eating pure food. Mm-hmm. So even if I eat less meals, like I'm not going to eat breakfast, I'll maybe fast or I'll have that fatty coffee. And then I'm going to either fast lunch or eat some kind of nutritionally dense food. And then it's on to dinner where you've made something and I can trust what's in there. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where my equilibrium has been, so to speak, over the last couple of years.
Yeah. And I know with you too, you eat a lot of fat. Like when we'll have protein or some kind of meal, you really load the fat on there, like butter and all that kind of thing. And that does not seem to have any deleterious effects on you. I mean, so anybody,
I eat a lot of fat.
Yeah, because you hear that a lot where people say, oh, just because you're keto doesn't mean that you can eat all this fat all the time and you can just load everything up. But I actually think this is part of where the bioindividuality stuff comes in, is maybe for some people, they need to watch the amount of fat that they're eating and they do need to be more cautious. They can't just overload it. But for someone like you, who you are very, I think, metabolically sound anyway, going into this, I don't think you have a lot of metabolic dysregulation anyway. And then you have always been kind of a smaller person. You weren't genetically maybe predisposed to being heavy and, overweight. So just being able to really, you're able to have more of the fat and really be able to give your body that. And then watching the epigenetics, like watching the expression of how your genes, how they're expressing through your lifestyle and your sleep, your stress, like those types of things. I feel like this has been just a really awesome way of life for you. Like, I feel like you're winning at keto.
Well, thank you. I feel like it is a lifestyle for me because even, and I know some of your listeners probably do this, but every now and then I have a piece of pizza, or I like on a weekend, I'm going to have some chocolate chip cookie dough that's just like horrible for me. And I know that, but the next morning I bounce back up and I'm good. I just try to kind of just like, hey, that was a little indulgence and I'm going to move on. And I try to make 99% of the time effective as possible. And if it becomes 95% or 93%, it's like my goal is, 99. Like I'm giving myself a little margin of error. And I don't know if that's going to be a Saturday or a Friday, but I try to not make it every day,
Right. And I also think that you don't indulge in the cheat day thing where we can sometimes start to have like one thing that's a quote unquote cheat or something that wouldn't necessarily keep us in ketosis. And then you can go like the whole rest of that day or the whole weekend where you're then eating that way versus I feel like I notice you often will just have one thing. Like you'll just have one little thing, like maybe it's a movie night and the kids have popped popcorn and we're making treats and they've got all this stuff and you'll just have one piece of cookie dough and then you don't eat anything else the rest of the movie. Like it's like this one little thing versus just going crazy.
Yeah. Well, maybe you only saw one, maybe I ate two.
Maybe you did. Maybe I need to pay more attention to you.
Maybe I was hiding the second one.
That would not surprise me. You're tricky like that.
Yeah, sometimes.
So that's good though. You've got a lot going on. This book is super exciting. I know yesterday, I think yesterday was it yesterday or the day before was your launch day?
So officially it was Monday. So, I guess and then Tuesday I made it public. So Monday it went live. Tuesday I made it public.
Okay. Cause it's hard. I have a hard time remembering like how the days sometimes, but so, so yesterday, I think, or Tuesday, we were talking about watching you climb the charts, which was very exciting. So where did you end up at on this?
The highest part I got to was in my category was so Amazon does a best-selling authors ranking. You get a number, so it would be 1 to 1,000,000, whatever, how many books they have. And then they do by category. So I picked the category of Christian books that were also about business or professional development. So that's the category I'm in. So out of the whatever, how many thousand books or whatever, I got into the top 100 at the beginning of the day, which actually puts you on what they call officially the bestsellers ranking list. So then I actually got to show up on the page with the other bestsellers. And then it went from 96 to 77, and then 67, 56, 46, 40, 37, and then 35. And then it started going back the other way again. So, but I did get to 35 for a brief amount of time. So on the Amazon bestseller list in my category number 35, really happy with that.
I think that's super awesome. I mean, that I would be thrilled with that. I think that was so cool. So having our conversations back and forth yesterday and going, oh my gosh, you're at what number? Like, that's crazy. Like,
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Even just to see you on a bestsellers list at all was really cool.
Yeah. So. I'm very thankful because I have a pretty good network across the country of people that I'm in business with. And a lot of them texted me and messaged me like very encouraging, like, hey, I saw your book, I bought it. And, a couple of people that have been on this podcast actually. So I was very grateful for that. And people that I've had on my podcast as well, which is something I started, I guess I didn't mention earlier. I did start a podcast, Kingdom Business Breakthrough, about entrepreneurship and faith together. But so I had people on my podcast that also wrote endorsements for the book that got to read it early. And they also texted me with pictures of them getting the book and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, this is, it's pretty exciting. It's a big deal. And I think that I just really wanted to emphasize a lot of just knowing you, knowing your lifestyle, and just seeing that, you can, just wanted to be encouraging to people that you can do these things. And sometimes it can feel overwhelming, especially I know for myself, if I'm into the carbohydrates and sugars and all that stuff, everything is harder. It's like you're walking through mud all the time. Like everything's more tiring. Everything's more irritating. Everything takes too much work. It's too hard to get your brain to focus. But when you're keto and when you've really got this lifestyle dialed in, it's almost like anything's possible. And you definitely took that. You kind of definitely ran with that with this book, because that was one of those things that's like, really, you're going to write a book right now?
Well, even you didn't probably believe me I was going to make that happen, right?
Well, I mean, we literally just moved into our new house, completed a major renovation here, buying another property, another vacation rental, we've got work being done on the farm, new fencing and stuff going in, new buildings, whatever. It's just all the stuff.
Moving schools and
kids moving schools, new sports season starting out. I mean, there's so much going on.
5 kids, yeah.
At my business, I've got new classes coming out. My keto recipe collection just launched. It's all this stuff. And I just thought, really, you're going to throw a book into that? Like, how in the world are you going to write a book? It's like you've been writing it for years, I know, but to actually put pen to paper and put it into a book and have a publisher actually publish that book and come up with the design of a cover and going through all that stuff. It was a lot, but I feel like you handled it really, really well. And you managed, there was no screaming, no gnashing of teeth, no crying.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, right? So, and I think the other thing you mentioned earlier is just not being tired. I think if you are truly an efficient processor of your body, metabolism, everything's working, you don't need as much sleep. So I know some people make fun of famous people and say they only sleep 4 hours a day or 6 hours a day. And sometimes there's freaks out there that can get away with that. But for the normal person that needs 8 hours sleep, I feel like I can do really well on 6 to 7. And I've learned that over time that if I want to squeeze that extra hour out of the day, either working a little bit right after the kids go to bed, or maybe it's getting up early and trying to do a devotion or read my Bible or do something that kind of gets my day started, and not feeling like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, I'm just now getting started. It's like, no, I got started at 5:45 or 6:45 or whatever. So now that we have 5 kids and they all have different school schedules, starting at 5:45 is kind of mandatory for our family. So it's like, you just have to do that. But I don't feel like I'm dragging in the morning. I just get up. It sucks for that first few minutes, just like anybody else. But then I'm happy I got up early usually.
Yeah, same here. It's usually I've got a ton of work done by like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. I've got a huge bulk of things done because I work more efficiently in the morning. My brain's more going. Most other people are not in the office yet, so you can get a lot of stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
And just like shoot a bunch of emails off. And I usually try to tackle all my emails that first hour, and then I can get on to what I want to do. And I don't have to worry. I know I've already hit those emails and I can come back to them in a few hours. So I think that's been really helpful to me too. So, and I agree, you need less sleep. And I definitely, I had my little, definitely had like a little carb, I don't even know what you want to call it, overload or whatever last weekend. And I felt major difference trying to get out of bed in the morning, so much more tired, didn't feel rested, didn't feel like it had, like I had gotten any sleep. And when you get back, when you are registering ketones, when you're in ketosis, when you're fueling your body that way, it really is easier. I mean, I'm not going to say when my alarm goes off at 5:45, I'm jumping out of bed, a big smile on my face. But like you said, within a couple of minutes, I'm like, okay, I'm good. Let's go.
Can I say something about that? Like when I see you, if you have too many carbs, I can tell just in your attitude and your just demeanor and your friendliness and your short-temperedness, it's just things like that change. So if anyone's out there listening to this podcast and they've thought about this lifestyle, if there's one thing I could tell you is, what if you're not doing it for you? What if you're doing it for the rest of your family? What if you're doing it for your coworkers? What if you're doing it for your mom or your sister or your brother or your kids? What if just having a little bit more patience, a little bit more energy, a little bit more understanding, and I always say that there's this synapse of time that happens between a stimulus and your reaction to that stimulus. Okay. So most people are literally finger to finger, edge to edge. As soon as something happens, they have an immediate reaction to it. They haven't created any margin because their body's already taxed out. But what if you could take your synapse of time and make it a second or 2 seconds or 5 seconds? And, you don't want to be that uncomfortable pause person when someone asks you something and you're just staring at them. So obviously there's a moment of time where it becomes awkward. But if you could even just slow down time for a second, and I feel like that's what keto has done for me, is that brain clarity, mental clarity, people don't understand. If you've never had this before and you're just living in fog and cloud, you don't really know what you don't know. I'm telling you right now, what happens is it's like time slows down. You can process what someone said. You can think about what's an appropriate response, and then probably say, no, that wasn't an appropriate response. Check another thought and go, yeah, that one's better. And then, because usually your first reaction to something is not the right one. We all have these knee-jerk reactions when something happens, and it might be a bad word that comes out of your mouth. It could be just a physical action that happens to you, or someone cuts you off and you start cussing out. That our brains are so closely wired. If you could take a second to process what happened, make it an actual wise decision about how to react, and then react appropriately, think of how much better your life would be if you just made that one change.
Yeah. And I think that's so true. I was actually talking to someone a couple of days ago, and they had posted this little saying, and it was, I think I'm a nice person until somebody cuts me off in traffic. And
Mhm.
it's true, right? Like, I'm paraphrasing. It was worded better than that, but basically that's the truth. Like, you can think, oh yeah, I'm a pretty good person, I'm pretty nice to everybody. But then as soon as somebody does something to you that elicits an immediate reaction or response from you, and that reaction or that response is less than favorable, like you're saying,
Mhm.
you're like, shoot, like, I'm not nice at all. Like, that was mean. But just that example alone, I noticed that, like, those tendencies for me, so much less when I'm in keto. I can tell when I have ketones for fuel, because I will be in traffic like, whatever, like, come on in, like, come on over, you just cut me off, whatever, maybe you're having a bad day, like, it does slow down that reaction, that, like,
The
that
fight or flight.
offensiveness to everything, right? Like,
Yeah.
it does.
Well, yeah, and I think the other thing too is kind of on the other side of this. So we have the immediate reaction side, but then we also have, most of us have anxiety because of all the things we're not getting done. So like, if you're like most people, sorry about that. Like, if you're like most people, you do not have like a to-do list that ever gets done. So what I found is that people have this huge list that keeps getting bigger at the end of the day. They go to bed at night and they're going, oh my gosh, I didn't get all this stuff done. So what I've also been able to do is not only get more stuff done, which is kind of part of the fulfillment, but the second part is have peace at the end of the day that I did everything I could do. Like, to me, it comes down to kind of a spiritual exercise, is where I'm saying, God, I did the best I could today. Yeah, there was all these other things I could have gotten done, but I didn't. I'm going to have peace in the results that I got done today, and then help me get done the most important things for tomorrow. So it's like part of this lifestyle you talk about. It's not just what you put in your body, it's how you think. It's a mindset. And the mindset has to be, I'm at peace with what I got done today. And then I'm going to be at peace with what I get done tomorrow. And then just, God, help me with like prioritizing what those things are. Because we might think they're one thing, and he says, nope, that's not the agenda for tomorrow. Here's your new agenda. And it might not even make sense logically until years later. We might go, yeah, that was actually pretty cool that happened instead of that. So.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. So that's awesome. I'm so glad that I had you on here today and got to talk to you a little bit. This is great that I get to see you and talk to you in the middle of our workday. This doesn't happen very often.
This is the most beautiful person I've ever seen for an interview. So thank you.
You're so funny.
I'm serious.
Thanks, honey. You're so sweet. Well, it has been great to have you on here. I will put all the information in the show notes for the listeners. But before I let you go, just tell everybody where they can't wait for the show notes. They just have to go right now. Where can they find you? Where can they learn more about you? So
my name is Derek Tye, and DerekTye.com is my website address. That's all of our family businesses on there. So DerekTye.com. So our real estate companies, our Airbnb properties, links to your businesses, everything's on there at DerekTye.com. And then if they want to go to my business coaching page, which is under construction, it's ugly, KingdomBusinessBreakthrough.com. I'm also on Facebook. Instagram handle is actually, my new one is a Kingdom Business Coach. So if someone wants to follow my Instagram, I usually put like a scripture or motivational thing on there. And my podcast is at Kingdom Business Breakthrough. So if you're any kind of podcast, service you use, if you put in Kingdom Business Breakthrough or Derek Tye, should come up. And it's an awesome podcast. You've got good, short, concise interviews. People can just, what's your average podcast length? They vary from 10 minutes to a half an hour. Yeah. So that's an easy thing to listen to on the way to work, whatever. And you've got a lot of great ideas and thoughts there, and you've interviewed a lot of really good forward-thinking people. So it's good. Yeah, there's two parts to the podcast. One is to motivate people and give them inspiration, but also to encourage people that they can do things that are bigger than what they think they can do. Yes, that's awesome. All right. Well, it's been awesome to talk to you in the middle of our day, and I guess I'll see you in a few hours. So thanks for being on here. It was great. And then thanks for all you do for all your listeners, because I get a lot of compliments from people I work with that listen to your show. And just for the record, I do brag about you a lot. So yes, I know you do. All right. Thanks for being on here. All right. Bye. I love you.
Thanks for listening to the Kingdom Business Breakthrough Podcast. For more resources to help you grow as a kingdom entrepreneur, go to kingdombusinessbreakthrough.com. If this podcast has impacted you, be sure to subscribe and share with a friend.
To come, the Savior, Redeemer, the Father, the Son, 'cause your Spirit is on me, a fire within, Creator, sustain, beginning.